pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Just to confirm, you'd like to call demo meeting mobile?
Alright, we'll start with introductions. Alicia Wilson, Vice Chair.
Bob Perry, member.
Kevin Smith, member.
Kate Lima, Principal at Titan Elementary.
Leo Brown, School Business Administrator, Titan Rehoboth Regional School District.
Amy Preston, Facilities for the district.
Linda Hall, member.
Liza Putra, School Committee.
Paul Reynolds, Financial Management Team Representative.
Jennifer, School Committee. So next item is to review the meeting minutes. Everybody get a chance to review those? I couldn't get a name tomorrow.
What I'll start doing is, when I produce them, I can just send them out to everybody, just to kind of take that step out. I'll send them to you in Word, it seems to be easy to read them like that, and then Bill can move them to
The drive.
the drive after.
Yeah, include in the packet. Did anybody else have issues viewing meeting minutes?
This is my first time seeing them, but I was on vacation last month, so.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I missed the meeting because I announced my son visiting from Seattle, so that's sort of overran.
I don't understand.
If no one has any issues, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our July 22nd regular meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, the next item on the agenda is to review the timeline and resources. I provided that. Jackie, do you have any updates or anybody have any updates or anything that we've heard back from the MSBCA?
I haven't heard anything from MSBA yet.
Is there a generic timeline for these projects?
There is, and I'm gonna be going from memory, but there is generally, a review process they're engaged in. We should hear, I just don't know it. I don't wanna speak out of turn. But there is a timeline. And the action items that we have, would be probably by the town. I do believe there was a town action item as part of that, to stay on that timeline, but I don't remember what it is, to be honest. But Bill would have that out. And I'll be honest, I'm on two SBCs, right, the second two, so I'm confused by them. We're not approved yet for a second time, but we're expecting those approvals to come by December. And then we have to then take action again. Because we've already been accepted, there is a timeline for that. And I believe that's appropriating the funds for the feasibility study. So
But is that, do you know if that's
That's
fall?
I don't know.
It shouldn't be, because if that decision comes down in December, I mean, most.
No, our decision was
Oh.
in December, so
Oh.
this is us to appropriate
When you say "our," you're talking about your town?
my town's going through the process a second time because we failed that vote. So we had to reapply, but we went through it the last time. I do remember going through the feasibility process, and that was well spelled out, but that was after the funds were appropriated, which we discussed in the ballpark of 1.2 to 1.4 million, depending on the size. And then we go to the design of the process with MSBA. So
We need to find out before the 21st of September when these funds need to be accessed. Is it before June or after? Is it before June, or when I need to put something together?
that is, in the warrant format, yes.
How much and when will be needed? I'm hoping.
I'd have to imagine there's some form of flexibility within the process though to align with how towns that do have town meeting government. You know,
There it is aligned that way.
right, cause it's not gonna be like, oh, well, we need an approval in April when we know most towns meet in June. Like that just seems absurd.
Now, we had the questionnaire that was filled out, I believe, sent back, is that correct?
That's correct. We did the question.
Yeah, we did that questionnaire, that's what I'm looking at. Yeah. So, and then I remember us talking about I'm sorry, someone else is leaving, I don't want to.
That's okay.
Yeah. I'll make sure we're staying on the reviewing the timeline, I guess that's what the.
Did everybody get to review the document that provided, the questionnaire that was provided, the completed one?
Yes.
Give everybody a second to review that.
I believe we updated the numbers of students in those dining and food service, number of rooms, et cetera. Right, and I believe went room type grade 1, 2, 3, et cetera, went from 6 to 7 rooms. Okay.
And then just to point out one typo, maybe prior to submitting this, is under grade 2, it says the class size is 116.
What page you want?
Page 3. Oh, so is the one in the meeting packet?
I know that was
Is this,
the old.
no, that's the oldest, I have a copy of the updated one right here that I printed out, where it's got the class sizes listed, it looks like that didn't make it into the meeting packet.
Oh,
But,
so the one that I just was handed is the old one?
yes,
No, that should be the most updated one with the 7
Yeah.
classrooms.
I think just the class sizes were for the committee's reference.
oh,
They
got it,
weren't the
understood.
document that was sent
Got it,
forward.
Understood.
So this is the updated one, and the
Gotcha.
one that was shared with us was the one with the actual
Yeah, there
class
was-
sizes.
Another issue under section 2, we're gonna increase the, about 2/3 of the way down. It said the proposed new school will be designed to accommodate 500, and I believe that went to 536 and then to 550.
Yeah.
Okay.
What page is that?
Page 2. And in the body of section 2, about 3/4 of the way down.
And they also added our concerns about the health and safety concerns with the
Right.
ceiling tiles.
Yeah, I think it's something to the effect of feasibility study focused on safe security.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the same thing on page 4, the language in the middle paragraph was updated as well to talk about the lunch times and capacity.
And then we're also, I believe, gonna put something in there regarding fire safety in terms of storage, staff allows me to use the storage. Okay. And then page 7, issue regarding first paragraph, piping to eliminate the carbon water.
And also on page 5, the breakout of what PBL meant and the change in numbers there as well.
Okay.
And breakout on page 8 of the collaborative planning, classroom management, and classroom teaching methods.
That'd be sorry. Mark after it's already ended, then
Definitely, big time.
We just nominated you for everything.
Oh, awesome.
And then, page 9, I believe this was the addition to the Arborcrest for the affordable housing requirements.
So, right.
And the addition of the community outreach links on page 10.
Does anybody have any other comments, questions, concerns about the submission? I think we need a motion here because these have already been, okay, these have already been submitted, correct? Yep. Does anybody have any other reports back through the committee, items to discuss?
So real quick, I just had found on MSBA's website and I saved it and I'll send it along to everyone because not that we're at that point right this second, but when it does come up, they actually had a bulletin that they put out in regards to vote requirements for the feasibility study, so it outlines it, how the vote should be constructed, that it needs to be standalone, so on and so forth. And they even templated like an article, so we don't have to go crazy writing it, you can pretty much copy and paste from that, but I'll just send that out to everyone, and then Bill can drop that in the drive too, so when we do get to that point, we have that, so we're not reinventing the wheel.
In that, does it say we?
It doesn't mention anything on timing, it just says, that it needs to be, that it needs to be a standalone vote, is pretty much the bulk of it.
Usually they provide a separate timeline, like individually to the town, city, when they submit it.
Well, you
But it's
said
gotta
there
be
was a
defined
guideline.
like a project.
They've got a pretty, fleshed out timeline, but again,
So we entered that 270 day period, Leo, when?
when they sent us the acceptance, perhaps.
Was that back in May? I don't know. I thought something maybe was due in
Bless you.
January. Bless you.
It would make sense, except I hope it's not, because we have to have a vote on the feasibility.
But
But
question regarding feasibility study. Is that a boilerplate document, if you will, that comes out of MSBA where you fill in the particulars based upon, in our case, the situation? Or does it have to be new right for each situation?
the feasibility study itself,
Correct.
it's a pretty comprehensive process. We hire, a designer and an OPM, someone to represent us.
No, but I'm talking about the document that goes out, hiring someone to do this. Does it have to be rewritten by us each time? Or is it like something that's a boilerplate, comes out of the state where you just change the names?
That's fair. There is some nuances that we maybe want to add to it, but there is a boilerplate we can use. I think somebody else here is MCPPO certified, I think, on this committee. Anybody here in the room? I finished 2 of the 3 classes already, we commenced the second, the next day after I was appointed. So I just went through the procurement for design and building process, and so there is a spelled out process for us to go through on an RFP process to get an OPM or launch project manager to then hire a designer. But in that designer the OPM will help us as a designer, but so will MSBA. So the OPM helps us go through that process. And what we may wanna do is really steer towards, and I've been going through this as a school committee member in my current district during the pandemic, we did our 3-year process to failure, but it's okay. I'm not bitter at all. That process, we were blessed to have 2 members on our building committee who were in the school building arena. Their companies did that. They were building Walpole's Middle School while we were in there, and they were finishing Ashland's Elementary School. So we were very blessed to have that. So, but for, where we may not have that someone is right in that, I think that making sure our OPM is as hands-on as possible to work with us is things we can write into our process to commence into the feasibility study process. That process does include other contractors as well to take us through building the educational plan. And that includes they'll organize things like the community members coming in for meetings, go see the facilities, talk with staff, have staff and students be a part of that process too. And then it will compile a very big document at the end to.
Well, the reason I asked the question is, I'm hoping that would be, I hope that would be the case, as opposed to going back to Genesis and starting forward, and saying, here we are, let's
Right.
put pen to paper. Okay, that was
No, there is some boilerplate stuff which is good for me. But also there is some of the nuances that we want to be able
Well,
to take out of.
that's what I would hope the
Yeah.
process would be like.
I just wanted to answer your question. Currently, town government, there's only one procurement officer, and that's Serena. Mike was also certified, Serena Amaral.
Okay.
Hopefully the TA will be. Hopefully.
Does the pool?
We don't know.
Can we circle back quick the
Yes.
timeline, because I found some more info. So from what I can see here is we're on step 3 of a 7-step process, which was completing the EPQ. So next up, step 4 is a summary of the district's existing maintenance practices. Step 5 is a certification of design enrollment for the proposed project, agreed upon with the MSBA. And then 6, confirmation of the community authorization and funding to proceed. And then 7 is execution of the MSBA standard feasibility study agreement, so. Seems like we're a couple steps away from getting to where. This looks almost like there's gonna be another some sort of form of questionnaire before we get to discussing feasibility.
Yeah, I think number 5 is gonna be the one,
Right.
confirmation of community authorization and funding to proceed.
that too.
For me,
That means they fund the study itself.
I don't think there's any due dates, I think it's all encompassed in that 270-day period.
Right.
step 4, which is up next. Maintenance, could you expand upon that a little more, so I think all have an understanding? I have my own definition of what maintenance means, but I'd like to flesh that out a little more. Does it mean maintenance of the facilities, past, present, proposed, future, or what does that mean?
It says here that the MSBA has instituted many reforms to make the MSBA school construction and renovation grant program more effective, efficient, and user-friendly for school districts to ensure long-term viability of the program. A vital component of these reforms is to protect the over $20 billion investment in school facility construction and renovation projects throughout the Commonwealth in the past 25 years through active and ongoing maintenance of school facilities by the school districts. The MSBA, has adopted criteria, and then they also give best practices, best practices for maintenance and capital planning, and then explanation of the methodology for evaluating. So I can.
That's what I was hoping it would say,
Let me
but I just wanted to be
this
sure.
too.
There is, we do have to vote in a designer selection process, which there is a boilerplate for that process that we can use and adjust as we see fit, and it does need to be voted by this board, this entity, and maybe the selectmen as well. So just.
For the steps for the
there's a vote that we need a town meeting. So that, the warrant closes September 23rd for the special town meeting on November 14th. And then after that, a 270 some odd day window. That's our opportunity, I believe.
That's what I
There's another
thought.
one,
That's what I thought.
right? Because if it opened in the beginning of this year, right, the 200 or
That's what I'm trying to remember the date that it opened.
I think it
We were
closed
accepted.
sometime in January, the
That's what-
273 days in January 25, right?
That's
If
what I
this
thought.
closes, so this is our one shot.
I could be,
kind of.
that's what I thought, but that's why I'm bringing that up today.
Oh, okay, that's my recollection as well.
So we need to do something for this fall
This
meeting.
warrant.
Mhm.
So you almost need to come up with a
And I-
rough estimate of feasibility cost.
Right.
And I would submit it on the 23rd.
That's what's sort of confusing about this, it's sort of like, how do we do that with where we are at this point? I don't know.
There's past precedent that we could get estimates from, I don't wanna speak to it, it was about $1 million in 2020.
Yeah.
So, and then you get reimbursed in it, but you have to vote the up to at that point. So, so you have the town does have to appropriate those funds, for the study to commence. So,
FinCom's gotta be involved in this too.
Right.
so we,
Well, FinCom will review any potential warrants that involve spending, so.
Yeah, and my overall concern was the publicity of it as well. You know, we had talked about how are we gonna get this information out to the taxpayers and the public? How are we going to let them know all of this? And if we're looking at fall town meeting, that's.
We don't need to have a number though necessarily, we just need to have a placeholder in the west when the warrant's open.
Oh, okay.
cause you can go
Because
back.
We
the
can
finance
just-
committee.
Yeah, we can strictly put a placeholder on the warrant for this. Allows us to meet in September to try to establish a number. And then just put that number into the article in October and then, cause I think special is early in November, I think the
I think I
17th,
said the 14th,
14th maybe.
yeah.
I don't know. Hold on.
November 14th, yeah, so that's still early,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But we also too, we need to make sure we have that final number as early as possible to FinCom for review, plus for the printing of the warrant to be sent to the taxpayers.
And publicize it so that we can get community buy-in, because that's short to get community
Yeah.
buy-in for that.
Right, we'll be competing with the debt exclusion election in general as well, so
Yeah.
it's just something we're gonna have to navigate from a community engagement perspective.
Yeah.
Let's first be sure that we're right about that date, you know, otherwise we'll be concerned about something that, but that was my understanding.
I agree, that's what I remember too.
May require, and I'm not sure if it does require a vote to put a number forward, I don't think it does, so for the active fund of the actual study. So I don't think this body needs to meet prior to that to vote it in, but, you know, but that number, like I said, between, I think we talked about it when we first met, in that ballpark of 1.2 to 1.4. I think there was a high number, it was like 1.6, but again, I don't, with inflations and whatnot, we were about $1 million in 2020, and we were reimbursed almost $400,000 of that $1 million. Which had to be directed towards the new feasibility study because it failed. Just that one, so don't fail, what do we do?
now how big was that project?
An elementary school, 2 grades in our town, population is similar, well, how many students in your building?
We're at 473.
Yes, and this was about that size,
Oh, okay,
that size,
apples to apples.
yeah, almost, yeah. I think we were building just about 500.
We would have to put a vote forward to for the warrant for a placeholder, wouldn't we?
Finance committee, I'm not sure.
No, I mean, I think, yeah, our committee should make a motion to have it, to have a placeholder on the warrant. So we'll have to try to, even if it's just a quick special meeting, we should hold a special meeting prior to that deadline.
I'm just gonna say, let's just double check with Bill before we
Yes.
do it, you know?
Yeah, we might be getting
Yeah,
nervous for nothing.
right,
I guess the most important thing at this time is knowing exactly what date that 270 days started on. Cause I was almost under the impression that it started at when we formed this, like it didn't, that 270 day window didn't start until this committee was formed in full.
What I thought.
So, which was not that long ago, but we still probably are right up against the gun for next year's annual, so.
Yeah,
Cause we started meeting in June, so
right,
we'll simple math.
Okay, we do have to do-
5 days.
so we have to be in the fall, unless we have a
Right.
special meeting.
Right,
The absent member of the committee here is informing me that we do need a vote in November to allocate the funds to the feasibility study.
so,
Do I have a motion?
so we
Should we
almost need to, cause it's not an agenda item.
Yeah, that's.
So we almost need to have a special meeting prior to, what was the close of the warrant, September 15th?
Close warrant September 23rd.
Oh, okay. We might be able to scoot ourselves around a little bit and just have our regular instead of,
this meeting,
just move it.
instead of the last one, we might
You
wanna
see-
do that for the next couple, because
Finance needs
we're
to
gonna be
vote.
right up against it if we wait till the end of each month.
Yeah, so. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it would be great to at least have a rough number at that meeting too, besides. But we can always put the placeholder and then adjust it prior to printing.
Would it be dangerous to, as part of that article, part of the warrant, say, feasibility study, elementary school, et cetera, up to, then put a number in there, like 1.8 million?
I think that's how you need to do it.
Okay, I thought we were just gonna put a placeholder there, but with a number on it.
Well, the placeholder will just be so that we don't miss the deadline to get on the warrant. The number though, I think even if I think you do that regardless, the up to is always the best practice, so
Okay,
you
no,
know,
that's-
you try to spend less, but we know, feasibility studies for this region with projects this size are
We
big.
have enough resources to get a number from someone that's not gonna be too far off, between contacts and other people. And MSBA, I'm sure would be happy to give you comps,
And in our back pocket, we best have a really reasonably solid number regarding state reimbursement, because if I was sitting in the audience, that'd be my first question.
100%.
Well, we don't have a TA. And before we start throwing numbers, could someone get in touch with Peter Roach? Because that money has already been set aside. I'm not exactly sure, if it's 1.5 or 1.8.
I
That
have
money is.
1.5 in capital stabilization.
Right, so to find out, how much is available.
As I said, I think it needs to go with a number, it's just a question of how we arrive at the number.
Because I don't think there is 1.8 in there, but it's somewhere between
These are the notes I took
1.5
when there was a presentation, 1.5. And then 55% of feasibility reimbursed, but that's dependent on the yearly socioeconomic factors.
Right. Because there is another, well,
Yeah.
it's reality.
Mhm.
There's another feasibility study going on right now. It's called the Fire Park.
Mhm.
And it's only so much money.
And it's a town meeting though, at the end of the day, the town's meeting, it's a-
Well, schools can bring a lot of people to me,
Absolutely.
and PTOs.
Should we schedule the next meeting sooner? Cause it's not until the 16th.
It's not till the end of September.
It would, yeah.
Well, we've had-
16th.
Last Monday in September.
Because we're going with the fourth Monday, right?
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
Oh, okay.
Is that-
So I mean, that would be right on the deadline day. So we need to try to meet the week before on the 16th, no?
Right, yeah, the 16th or 17th would both be good for me, if those are possible. I've got a Bristol County Collector Treasurer Association conference Wednesday the 18th, and then at night, I've got CPC at Concom.
You're cutting it, September. You're cutting it really close.
Well, it's just to vote to put a placeholder.
Okay.
Between now and then, we can get numbers.
So is that Monday?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Do we entertain a motion for that?
Yes, and
So-
here, we're gonna do it here
Yes, at 5.
at 5. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
What is it?
9/16/24 at 5 P.M. Right.
You know, I'm just gonna throw a question out there. I guess,
You're gonna let Bill know.
would it also make sense to move the October meeting, cause that's not scheduled till the very end of October? And then we're right up against the town meeting date of the 14th, if anything needed to happen. Just a thought. I mean,
Yeah.
if we're planning anything with the public, if we're I know we settled on that last Monday because everyone was able to do that, but now that we're looking at circumstances changing a little bit, might be wiser to have the meetings earlier in the month.
I think that makes sense too, and then even like our agenda item that says the SBC attendance at the selectmen's meeting in September, I almost feel like it's more appropriate to do that piggybacked off of our October meeting, because it's fresh, it'll be fresh off of us discussing in depth feasibility and also too, right before town meeting, so it gets that mess, we can kind of
Right,
Yeah.
collaborate on message.
The only problem with October is that the 14th is Columbus Day.
holiday,
Right,
What about the 21st?
but yeah, we have the 21st, so that moves us up a week too.
so 10/21.
Sure.
Favor of that as well?
I'll make a motion to meet October 21st at 5 P.M.
Second.
at prime time.
Meeting in September.
Aye.
Aye.
The meeting in September with the Board of Selectmen, is there a date picked? For us?
I
And
think it's the 11th.
11th,
the 11th,
Hmm,
and we'll need, so we don't want our OML, we're gonna post it as a joint, right? Or you're gonna send a delegation?
I think we need to post it as a joint meeting.
Okay.
Cause he
Because if we have a
was looking for
law,
everyone to attend.
makes sense.
To introduce everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What time is that meeting?
sorry, I'm
I'm
bad.
scheduling for 5. So this one?
Yeah, what time is the meeting?
The
So the 11th?
That could be subject to change, it depends on what the chairman does, so it could be 6, could be 5:30, probably 6, but actually with this being on the agenda, he may move it up, so, we'll have to,
Is it September 11th, is that?
not yet, September 11th,
Maybe the whole committee should be there, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, introduce it.
so I can give correspondence to the selectman's office, that is what, hopefully it'll go on their agenda, if the chairman so chooses, and, I'll let the board know the time.
And Leo, you can, let Bill know that we need to
You
do it
tell
as
me.
a joint.
Well, do we feel like that's like I was kind of just saying, do we feel like it's appropriate at that time, other than introducing ourselves, because we could get hit with questions that we don't have the answers to?
That's that's why we need
The
to.
chair can, all the questions could be, sent to the chair, if you're, and it could be stated that, because you're in a meeting, because if you're in a meeting, you would act as though you're in a meeting, so the questions could be directed that way. So, and then because it then turns into a joint meeting almost, because it's a meeting within a meeting.
Well, no, I just feel like it's a publicity meeting as opposed to anything with any substance. I'd rather us meet on the 16th follow up and have an early or mid-October joint meeting with the selectmen.
I agree,
Once
I agree.
once we've kind of wrapped our heads around this, because otherwise it's a shaking hands and kissing babies event, it's not.
I agree with you.
And we
Yeah,
could get
I
ourselves
would-
caught up in
Right.
not being able to answer questions, and that would be.
And when the selectmen go over warrant articles, if we did it for that meeting, then we could talk about any questions and we
Right.
could introduce it then.
Right, I think we'll have a lot more substance doing it in October.
I do have a placeholder, so we must have brought it up before, I have a placeholder for the 25th, are they supposed to be another 25th, Board of Selectmen? So I must have put in,
Review, yep, the 25th would make more sense.
we must have already thought of that,
So
because I
we're
put a
gonna go to
placeholder in here.
The 25th is
So-
So,
40th birthday, I won't be there.
It's gonna bring cake.
There's a long list of things I wanna do for my 40th.
That's a party though.
This isn't one of them.
No
snow?
Mine's on the 29th.
Yours
It's like
on the
mine.
29th?
Yeah, so you're a little bit older than you.
Mine's old, so
Oh, nice.
Mine's on the 29th. My birthday.
it is.
All great people were born on the 29th.
29th of what?
so which schools all those dates again, thanks. I just keep pressing.
I know.
So the next one is September 16th, prime time, 5 p.m. Then October 21st at 5 p.m. at prime time. And then joint meeting September 25th.
October.
No, it's
September.
September.
There's the 2 Septembers in
Yeah,
October.
September
9:25.
for the time to be determined by the chairman. Do we need a motion to go to the 25th?
So,
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
And at the town meeting too, you can, do the presentation,
Anybody have?
flyers about it, really build it up now, maybe.
No, for sure, we definitely need a lot of publicity around it.
Well, it's good to know all that information too, like how much we've already designated to set aside, because even though it's been there, it's still gonna take 2/3 to get it out, so this is not a simple majority,
Right.
vote, so we're gonna have to really do our due diligence to make sure we have all of that lined up. So,
Preschools in town, or any of the area preschools, because the parents are coming up, the kids will be going there. Those are all the usual suspects we had, someone to go to the council on aging, any of those meetings that might be there ahead of time, to get them interested and excited about it. Sorry, I just.
No, that, we might have one.
We just did this again, we just went through this in June and July. We had some meetings, we held some information sessions at the school, the old school. Find the oldest room that's uncomfortable. And, so they can simulate their children sitting in those seats and in that room.
it's gotta be the trail.
Yeah, Damien can make it uncomfortable there, temperature wise.
Don't change any tiles that week.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my question, did you do a forum of some kind for the public?
Yeah, and this time around, to be absolutely sure, we held every meeting in that building. So, and our building is a mosh posh of the buildings smushed together, and it looks great.
Should we do a forum prior to the vote?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
Prior to the town meeting vote.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I know for me personally, cause before I ran for selectman, I tried to read everything I could on the state of the elementary school, and I really thought the issue was the trailers, but it wasn't until I walked with Superintendent Rooney and I saw all the other things, like teachers eating on stage, that's, and copiers in the hallways, and, And then the tiles and the trailers, I could, you know.
The trailers aren't that bad, and they can be nicer
Right,
sometimes.
Yeah. You
My
gotta
daughter
see
had
it.
one first, and yeah, in the trailer, she's like, it has AC, it's cool up there.
That's You really gotta walk it and see it for yourself.
The foundations of the trailers.
Half
So-
of it,
Half of the trailers.
like half is on the old parking lot, the other half is grass.
Oh, yeah, but there's no
So it's
permanent
sinking,
foundation.
no.
Yeah, so those are gonna disintegrate over time because there's no actual permanent foundation. So,
And there are some sagging floors already. That's my understanding.
I have a concern, and it's a political concern. We, in November, are going to be taking a vote on the BP tax solution. We have a fire feasibility study, we have a school feasibility study, and there's only so many dollars that the town folk are gonna wanna spend. I don't see this as a slam dunk. We got a lot of work ahead of us, reaching out to people and advocating for ourselves. Because the other people are gonna be out there advocating as well. So,
And we have to keep in mind too, that a lot of this town is an older population that may not have children that live in the school,
Right.
which does not necessarily.
I would disagree, I think this town has a very young population, we just don't come out. So that's the thing, it's engaging that age group.
yeah, some comments that we got from our survey that we just did. Can't I just vote for it now? I don't wanna go to town meeting. Like, there's there's generations that they just wanna, you know, hit send, the vote's in, you know, and there you go.
I think it's also educating the town about what town meeting is, because a lot of people who have moved here, like myself, moved from a city to a town where it's very different, and you don't have to sit at town meeting and vote, you can cast your ballot and move on, so.
The
Well,
town
back to Lenny's point too, about 30% of the population of our town are retired, are fixed income, so again, it's not a slam dunk.
No.
Okay, it may be 100% necessary, but that vote isn't assured at all.
you know, I joke with Bill, but in all seriousness, when we put the addition on the elementary school, Arthur Almeida, who was the chairman of the building committee, and Dr. Frank Connors, superintendent, went door to door, knocking on doors, speaking to people, coffee shops, they did get the votes.
The other thing
Reaching
is
out to
fall,
people.
fall town meeting doesn't usually get the attendance
No,
that
not
the
at all.
annual gets, either.
That's,
Well, it depends what you put on too.
True.
I mean, you know, substance is everything.
Yeah.
Even for us for annual, like, 1 year apart, having the library and not the library was a world of difference, so.
Another reason that we have to get this.
Well, if I may, throw this out on the table for us to consider individually and then perhaps address at the next meeting. What format could we put the information out to the maximum number of people in the shortest amount of time? Would it be a walkthrough of the building being filmed? You know, saying this is this, that is that, here's an issue here, we have this here, we have that there, et cetera. Put it on the Dayton channel, or some other mass media, maybe even having to pay for a mailing that starts that education process, because you said, Mark, you know, you thought it was the trailers. And then lo and behold, when you did your research, wait a minute, we had a whole family of problems. That's what we need to get out there, and I think perhaps that would be an issue to discuss, to think about. How could we do it and come to some sort of conclusion as to maybe what should we do to get it out there and how to do it?
I think it's a great idea, having some video walkthrough, we can engage cable, because it's dual faceted, it covers, you know, the older population that's watching Channel 9, but we can also use social media.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
I also think too, and I love that point, I hope that happens, we should do that. It doesn't, we just wanna be presenting the facts, like we don't wanna be steering anyone in any way, like
Yep,
you give an opportunity to walk it, give an opportunity to watch the video, you know, here's what we have for funds. And you, as you know, the citizens can decide if it's right for them or not. I just think
Even,
you have to look hard to find the facts and, we just want to make it easy for people
That's
to
right.
find.
even doing something like the open house night, like where you guys present the kids' projects and stuff. We had something like that where people could walk through and see the good stuff, but then also like walk through and, hey, look at how tiny the cafeteria is and the fact that it's a multi-service space and, you go from the nice new kindergarten side to the older side that, it's darker and there's clearly water tile issues and other things going on there. People could actually go in there and see the drastic differences between each section of the school and the problems. Then also see like, hey, we wanna give these creative spaces for these kids to do these amazing things. And we're doing it with this limited resource. That might also play a positive effect as well.
But I think, and we could also, go ahead, we have an idea, email around to each other, but I think about it individually, and bring it to the table next time and really flesh that out. Because it needs to happen over a short time, it's just a question of
Right.
how do we do it?
Yes.
Well, can I say something? I think people are concerned with how much of their taxes are gonna go up. But between BP and the fire department and the new school, I think they have to have an idea. I don't know how that's gonna happen, but so a lot of people are concerned about the taxes.
Well, here's the biggest thing, Mark and I just had this conversation last week about BP. Is I think an important, if our goal as this committee is to ensure that this project does get done, is breaking it down to like the simplest number you can. Because with BP, when you say 310 million, you're like, oh, but when you break it, like it got broken down the other night as part of the debt exclusion conversation, that it's gonna cost over the life of a 30-year note, it's gonna cost the average Dayton homeowner $7,500. When you break it down for me, I'm like, I can't even buy a car for this $7,500, I can't do this for $7,500. So I think we should make it our goal to break it down to the simplest form possible. And be like, just like when if you were going to buy a new car, it's not, I'm paying, 60,000 for this
Right.
car, it's gonna cost me this much a month. So, you gotta bring it down to a digestible number that people can understand.
Average household impact,
Yeah, it's
100%.
huge.
What is it gonna mean in when I write my check for my taxes?
Because just for that, and I think, our project in comparison to a technical high school is gonna be, so much significantly less. That when you break it down to that, you can tell me, hey Kevin, for $2,500, you can assure the next 50 years of Dayton elementary school students have a great place to learn. I'm gonna probably wanna make that investment, making it appeal like that, not like, oh, this is a cost to me. This is my, $2,500, $3,000 investment over 30 years to make sure that our students have this available. Is the way to approach that conversation.
You're right, that was an excellent presentation at the selectmen's meeting.
It's my 2 cents.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask for the hall pass, and then I'm gonna go to another committee meeting at 6.
Yes, of course. Does anybody have anything else?
Can we put that on the agenda though, like the best way to present it to the public for our next meeting?
Not only, if I may, again, I think we'll have this discussion next time, but back to the point, not only do we look at what's right and what's wrong, but maybe infuse some of those numbers into that. Maybe not, but as I'm thinking here as a taxpayer, you brought up the point, infuse some of those numbers in and some of that conversation about you're buying something for 30 or 40 or 50 years, et cetera, because if we put it out there, I think people will digest it and they'll either come up with focused questions at the town meeting as opposed to, just shooting from the hip. Okay, which I think is important, so we can drill down to what we want to get. Take care.
Just to expand off that for the BP debt exclusion, one thing town administrators work on is like a one-page fact sheet just one page, as many facts as we can, but simple too, so that everything's there. If you wanna drill down, you can go and look at PowerPoints and stuff, but if you're busy, there's a one pager, and that's what we kind of, just an idea for our next meeting, if we had a one page fact sheet with some numbers and some facts about what we're asking for, I think that would be helpful.
What are you buying? What are we paying for?
Mhm.
You know, to your point, I think that's very important.
Right. Agree.
One of the things we did, we formed a communications subcommittee of this group. That, they can organize some of those efforts, like the pamphlet, the video. I think I would recommend organizing some dates for open houses for this, obviously probably should be at night or dusk or different times when people can attend too. Because some age groups in different capacities can, parents who have kids who are in school, maybe they'll come during the day and they know there's kids in school, maybe there, we may play that around, but then at nighttime to walk them and have activities so people can bring their kids and do something. Whether it's dodgeball or something,
Yeah.
or maybe not dodgeball. I just take all my notes. But something along those lines so that you can just advertise that a little bit and should do that sooner rather than later to advertise those dates out. Come check out, the building, it's gonna be part of the vote, the town meeting, and I know it's a lot in a short amount of time, because it is August, last week in August, and the vote's in November, right? So you only have 8 weeks tops, right? To kind of put it together, advertise, get people there.
I think too, we also underestimate how powerful the kids' voices can be in this too. Maybe like something like a Mr. Badger video of what their opinions are, their feelings about things in the school, like that can be, like one complaint that I hear all the time, it's so hot in there, and I know that is because of, the design of the building and how you have to heat it and everything, but, things like it's dark, the space is cramped in some places, we don't get to have lunch with our peers, cause there's only one class at a time, items, sometimes kids' voices are a lot more powerful than adults' voices are. I mean, you obviously have to measure that, cause there's gonna be kids that wanna say, "We want ice cream every day," I think there are some legitimate, yeah.
Kids love their schools. They could have a hole in the wall, I still think. It is true, I just find that sometimes.
Damien, do you have an ongoing, maintenance list of your, I would say, failed systems or systems that are approaching failure that you're constantly?
I don't have it written down, but I can definitely get something together.
Because I think that would be helpful too, to justify, we're doing this to the boilers every, so often it's costing this much.
Could you put dollars and cents to that also?
So when we were,
Probably
range.
close.
Energy efficiency, that, looking at what are we potentially wasting in energy efficiency for heating a school?
And Bill talked about doing things in piecemeal and what that would cost us as opposed to doing it.
so a deferred maintenance plan is what we are compiling as part of my onboarding, and a preventive maintenance plan, which is all things that they're gonna ask for in that number 5, anyway. So the reason why they ask for that is because part of the outcome of this, of their 50-year building, is they are going to get one, if you take their money, is a preventive maintenance plan. So you're supposed to have that loaded into the work order management system, and there's a whole laundry list of stuff to do. So we're gonna preempt that anyway, because we're doing that because it's the right thing to do. And then Damien will build, I'm gonna pick Damien's brain because there's about 20 years of stuff up there that I just need to get out.
That's just important information for the people to know, like, this is how often we're fixing X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
And then the cost to update it, and if you touch it too much, then you have to bring it to code.
Right.
Yes.
And the cost of going to code is, that's,
Crazy.
Will be part of that fact sheet that you mentioned too.
Yes.
I think it's great that they have a maintenance plan to follow, because that keeps you out of the trouble of where we got to where we are now. It's not really anybody's fault that we're here, it's just, you know,
That's what happened.
this allows you to just let, do that next year.
Kick it down the road.
Yeah.
Put a full day K or put the roof on,
Right,
put some tarps on the roof.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
so
Mhm.
it's 100%, and the preventive maintenance part of it, like it's oiling dampers, you know, changing filters, you know, all of those types of things that just didn't happen, or it's time to go through and replace these units, which cause other units to fail, so.
It's an easier sell when you have to ask for the money too, because you have backup now.
Right.
It's right in your plan.
Alright, anybody have anything else? Alright, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
6:04. Okay, so we're all even asleep. We were on time.
You guys.
Hey, Bill said.
Yeah, 70 steps.
That's all about each
Any of
area.
those
Chosen.
No, fourth was the EDQ that we just did.
Executive session, it's
Oh.
negotiations.
We just did the EDQ. And then fifth is the meeting.
Yes, and right now.
I'm gonna send that to you.
Okay.
I'll send that again in that other form.
And that's.
So Bill, representative, have the possible to be there, and making sure. And this year, we did that with that from the, we did